Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Barker here, Military Veterans in Business. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Travis Johnson, the founder of Nonprofit Architect. I'm super excited for today because I've been tracking him on social media and seeing the work that he does. But I did just read his actual bio for the first time this morning, and I was really impressed and very moved what he's gone on to do with his life. So Travis, would you mind sharing your story? Let's just start there, very broad. Share your story from what it says on your bio, and then tell us a bit about your military service, and then we'll go deeper.
Sure. It was a show like an hour only. I guess I did like a 2-hour interview last night, so I'll have to try to trim it down a little bit. Keep everything clear and concise. She read the bio, and the bio says 36 moves, 12 schools, 6 states, 5 foster homes, survived 2 murder attempts, all before graduating high school at 17. That's probably what she's referring to. And then still currently active duty Navy, did 12 years enlisted as an ejection seat guy. And now I fly on this bad boy in the background here. We've got the screen like this instead of the wide view, so you can't really see the props I've got in the back. Like a little weather guy, just point this here over here. This is what I've been doing. I'm a naval flight officer for the Navy, so I fly in the back end mission commander on E-6B Mercury. They provide nuclear command and control to the President, Secretary of Defense, and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. So really important mission, really has to do with, everything the military needs, but it's not a very sexy mission. Obviously, we're not launching nuclear weapons, so there's not a whole lot to worry about there.
Important all the same, and I'm just wondering how you balance it all. I actually didn't realize that you were still active duty and doing all of the work that you're doing in the nonprofit sector. So wow, kudos to you.
It has been a busy year between running the nonprofit stuff, the Nonprofit Architect podcast, consulting with people, helping them, say no to more work, say yes to more money, get those monthly recurring donations coming in, get those partnerships come in each and every month. And then I wrote a podcast guide, and I've been selling that thing. And I just finished up my master's this week. So just super busy all the time. Yay.
Congratulations. I just signed up. I'm in my Master's of Divinity program, and I start more classes on March 22nd. And I'm freaking out a little bit, but so that's very encouraging to me to hear that you have completed. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, right?
Light at the end of the tunnel. Yep.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. All right. So tell us about Nonprofit Architect. How did this come about?
Well, it really had a lot to do with my childhood, because there was always some organization, some group that kept us sheltered, clothed, and fed, whether it was state programs. We've got that dream, that millionaire's dream, like 7 streams of income, but they don't add up to $1 million when they're Social Security, child support, SSI, disability, welfare, alimony, and food stamps. Those don't add up to $1 million. So not the millionaire's dream, even though there were 7 streams of income. Got to a place in my military career where I was stable. I was finally out of that scarcity mode, that survival mode, and was looking to give back, but I didn't know what to do. I was like, what do people do in communities? I had never thought of it. You spend so much time just worrying about the next couple of hours of your life, where the next meal is coming from. Are you going to make it to lunch? What is when you're in that place, there's not a lot of hope and room for the future, not planning, not any of those things. So I finally got to a place. I'm like, man, I kind of feel like I'm home now. Like, how do I do this? Like, what do people in the community do? Like, people part of the community? And I asked those questions at church and got connected to a couple of people and went to a networking meeting. And I had no idea what networking meetings were. I didn't have a business. I didn't have anything to provide. I just, showed up with a great attitude, ready to pitch in where I could, and met some wonderful people. And through those connections, I became a published author shortly thereafter, got on board of a few nonprofits in the Oklahoma City area, helping do some great things here. And then I got stationed in Bahrain in the Middle East. And I'm like, how am I supposed to keep doing all this cool nonprofit stuff? And fired up the podcast, started doing an interview show, bringing on guests and help giving people the actionable steps they need to do nonprofit work and do it better. So all of that to say that, got into the nonprofit game and then started doing coaching and consulting. And because of my background, I've always had this different perspective, this different way of looking at things, a different way of doing things, which is a fantastic timing for the world, because everyone's doing things differently right now. The ones that are not, They're not bringing in the funds they used to. They're closing up shop, and people are looking for different ways to get things accomplished, and that's where I come in.
That's awesome, right? It's get on the
Yeah.
pivot bandwagon or not, figure out how to operate differently in order to survive. So real quick before I'm curious. So you mentioned that you came out of this scarcity mindset, or this, just I have to survive mindset.
Mhm.
Was there some sort of triggering event that happened, or did you go through a bunch of self-work that got you to that point?
Well, I like to say that I only made 3 good choices in my life, and they were, finding the Lord, joining the Navy, and marrying my wife. Those, I mean, they're pretty fantastic choices, right? But they didn't care, what my background was. Like, Christianity doesn't care what is happening in your world as long as you're willing to come in and give up your life to the Lord. The Navy didn't care where you come from, as long as you can come in and do the work, right? They have a set of standards. They have honor, courage, commitment. They've got the UCMJ, and they can say, hey, show up, shave, haircut, ready to work in the proper uniform of the day, and go, and you make your own way. Same with my wife. She just loves me and wants to support me. So once I found out, it took me a while, to realize that I could make my own future. It didn't matter what, the first couple of chapters of my life look like. I get to decide what the next pages are going to say, and I get to decide how my story is going to end. I get to decide where I want to put my work, my focus, my energy, my effort, how many relationships I want to build, who I want to have in my life, and why that matters. And once you realize that you're in control of those things, when you're a kid growing up, there's not a lot of control that you have. Things kind of just happen to you. But the control you do have is you decide how you are going to react to those things. You get to decide if, the things that you're being told and shown to you can accept those or reject those. Even if you don't know like how to really navigate through all that stuff. Someone can say something to you, and when you're 0 to 7, your subconscious just automatically onboards that stuff, right?
Yes.
You don't have any control of that, so it takes some time to work through those things. Like, why do you feel the way that you do? And I love having conversations like that with people that are willing to talk and willing to listen. Sometimes you have conversations, people aren't ready to listen yet, but when you realize, like, well, why is it that you think that way? And you ask it in such a way that you're not like, well, why are you doing that like that? You're asking them because you want to, like, how did you get to that? How do you arrive to that point of view? I'm sure there's something that happened or something you decided, like something like owning your own home is the American dream. Well, is it? Is it the American dream?
It depends on who you are, right? What
it depends on who you are.
Yes.
Exactly.
And I think that younger children, have done a lot of studying around this because of my upbringing, but young children don't know how to process certain things. And so the natural default is to personalize it, to internalize it, and they think it's my fault, right?
Yeah.
And that's how all of these adults come about with all of the major complexes that we tend to have. So very, very interesting. And this is really encouraging also that you just have to decide. So what you mentioned was, right, there's this mindset shift, and I get that. Sometimes I see in people where it's like, oh, well, I have the mindset, I have the abundance mindset, but then you notice that they seem to think that they don't have to do the work along with it. Well, I'm just going to think about all the things I want, and they're going to happen. So what do you have to say about that?
Well, the law of attraction is real. I'm a very big believer in things like the law of attraction, but it's not like you are a electromagnet and the things are just going to zap to you from across the world, right? I want to be a world-renowned public speaker. That's something that I've said. But if I never develop my skills for public speaking, if I don't ask to be on stages, if I don't deliver some kind of value to the audiences that I put in front of, well, no matter how much I feel like I'm a world-renowned speaker, how much I try to attract that to my world, it doesn't matter if I don't actually put in the work. Like something like getting my degree and then getting a master's, like those were never my world growing up. It's something I wanted to do, but it wasn't something that I could do unless I got to something like the Navy, where they pay for college. The Navy's paid for both of my degrees, so thank you, all you taxpayers out there that are supporting me.
So it's going to good use.
It's going to get used, right? But just because the Navy has programs to get you through school doesn't mean you're just automatically enrolled, right? You still have to go through whatever the program says. You have to get the information you need. You got to sign up. You've got to pay some of the fees up front. You got to get permission to be enrolled in school. All these different things you have to have, and those take action, because knowing is only half the battle. I learned that in cartoons growing up. G.I. Joe. No, he's only half the battle. The other half is action, right? If I
I
know
was
how to
gonna
solve
say it's
world hunger, if
action.
I know how to solve world hunger, but I never do anything about it, well, then it really doesn't give a rip that I know how to solve world hunger. It means nothing. So
Right,
people are like, well, I
right.
know how to do this. I know how to do that. Cool. Why aren't you doing it? Well, I don't like who the president is, or the stock market's up, or the stock market's down, or there's weather. I'm like, you just described everyday life. Someone is going to be president. You're going to like some things about him. You're going to hate some things about him. Some things you'd be like, oh yeah, applause, huge. So glad you did this. And some things you'd be like, dude, like he's president. Like, why is that true? But that doesn't affect my personal happiness or the actions that I choose to do with my life. Like, oh, he's
Mhm.
just whatever their policy is set up for business owners. I'm like, well, sell Tupperware. You now have a business where you can write off stuff that doesn't take a lot of effort, and you are now getting all the benefits from having a business. And we're like, well, I don't want to do that, dude. I can't help you. I can't help you. You can come up with any obstacle, and you can come up with a million excuses why you can't get it done, or you can look at it as a challenge. You're like, ooh, I've not seen this before. How am I going to get over that? And when you
Right. What do I
change that
need to do to
mindset,
get it done?
what do I
Mhm.
need to do to get it done? When you look at it, I think we've got a huge divide in the country right now. We're either going like, you know what, it's your fault that my life is this way, or I'm saying, you know what, I had something to do this. So what can I change? How am I taking
Right.
responsibility for this? And there's people out there, right? They take no responsibility, whether it is theirs or not. And there's people that
Mhm.
take responsibility, whether it's their fault or not. And you can see who those people are and how their lives look like and what they do. And
Don't you feel like when you take responsibility, you're able to move forward?
yeah, yeah,
Nobody's perfect, but if you never take responsibility, for me, that means if you're not taking responsibility when you go wrong, that
hmm
means you're not
hmm
going to experience any growth. So are you really
right,
going to be moving
right.
forward?
Just like going to the gym, right? You're not building muscles, you're tearing them apart in the gym, and then you heal, and
Mhm.
that healing, that growth, that's what builds it. But you have to go through that tearing process in order to get big, huge muscles. I would know
Great
I'm super
analogy.
ripped. I'm super ripped.
Right. I've started working on that.
Yeah, yeah,
All right. So you're active duty Navy still, but you're doing stuff in the civilian world on a very active level. So
yeah.
this question still applies. What's one thing you wish you had known before you began your civilian career, before you began nonprofit architect?
Well, I wish I would have known just how easy it is once you take the first step. Once you said, I'm starting, and you start it, like how easy some of this stuff is. The thing that kills me about most people in the military is it's their only game. The only thing they're doing is they're doing the military, and then they go to restaurants, they hang out on the weekends and do nothing else. And then they go back Monday morning and do the military or whatever it is when you're deployed. And then something happens, right? Either their commitment's up, or they decide to get out, or they, God forbid, get injured in some way, shape, or form. And the military is not a thing anymore. They're not prepared to go do anything in the regular world. And I knew from day one at some point I was getting out of the military. I'm coming up on 21 years in the Navy right now. And more than 15 years ago, I started doing financial planning with people. I didn't know this thing that I found. Maybe you've heard of him, the patron saint of paying off debt. Dave Ramsey, found Dave
Oh
Ramsey,
yes, yes.
started paying off our debt. And we were like, why aren't other people talking about this stuff? Why aren't people doing this stuff? And we started paying off our own debt, and we started helping people in churches, people in the military, take a look at what it is they're doing and why they're doing those things. So over 15 years, we helped 400 families pay off $6 million in debt.
Travis, that's
Which,
so wonderful. So on my last deployment, like
yeah,
when I was in Gitmo, we had the opportunity to go through the Dave Ramsey course,
mm-hmm,
right? Can't
mm-hmm.
remember exactly what it's called, but it is life changing. It is
They have
completely
financial
life
peace,
changing.
total money makeover.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
That's wonderful. You guys have helped that many families. That's a lot
mm-hmm,
of lives changed. Not only
yeah.
the adult lives, but the lives of the children that they have.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And some of the things that we talk about is just because you get a pay raise doesn't mean your quality of living needs to go up. Like once I got commissioned, we didn't change the way we were doing business. All of our debts paid off except for our house. We're on baby step number 6. Those of you Dave Ramsey fans out there, we're paying our house off. It's going to be paid off in less than 5 years. no matter what kind of path that we take in the future. And the house like payment, like if the world ends and I have to just live on retirement or whatever's going on, my house payment's only $1,100 a month. Like we
That's
could have
so
gotten,
incredible.
well, we could have gotten to a bigger house, right? I got commissioned and got promoted along the way. We could have definitely afforded a bigger house, but what are we really getting? We really
What do you
asked
need?
ourselves. Well, we asked ourselves like the time comes for a new car, right? Like, oh, it's about time, new car. Like, what are we really getting? Like, what features are we really getting? Like, how much could I go and get that feature installed in my car for? Like, if you wanted heated seats or something stupid or remote start. Remote start's like $600, $700 like that. Like, no, I'd rather get this new car that has a $600 a month payment. You're like, why? Why? We've got friends here. We're in the Oklahoma City area, which is like the top 10 cheapest places in the country, top 10 fastest growing cities. One of the most gorgeous cities that I like to spend my time in. But, my house, my 2,000 square foot house, I bought it for $156,000. Like, why would I go? There's tons of new neighborhoods, right? There's houses, 350 and up, 450 and up. There's, palaces in Oklahoma City. For those of you on the coast, like middle of the country's got some great real estate.
I'm in San Diego right now, and you're telling me
you're hating life. You're hating life. You're paying like $3,500 a month probably.
Oh, it's insane. I didn't really realize it because I've been here. Now, granted, right, it's beautiful. The weather's beautiful. But last March, I started splitting my time between Tennessee and here. I didn't realize even how much more I was paying for groceries here.
Yeah, everything.
Until I started buying groceries in Tennessee. And I'm like, wow.
middle of the country cheap. Nashville's actually my favorite city in the country. I've been to all of them except for Pittsburgh, Miami, and Philadelphia. I haven't been to those three cities yet, but I've been to every other state, every other city. Nashville's by far my favorite. A lot of fun there, a lot of great people. Really enjoyed Nashville.
You'll have to let me know if you and your wife are coming out, because that's my husband and I, Gallatin, so like 25 minutes from Nashville. But I'm always looking for an excuse to go downtown.
Gallatin, is that like the Pigeon Forge area?
Oh, no. That's more like Eastern Tennessee, I think, which is beautiful. Gallatin, you know what? I honestly couldn't tell you which direction it is from Nashville.
Well, this isn't a test. There's no rules. I'm not grading papers today, so you don't have to worry about knowing where Gallatin is.
Geography was never my strong suit.
I love geography. I think it's cool the way everything is laid out, where everything is in relation to everything else. Like Oklahoma City, like what's that even close to? Like, well, Dallas is 3 hours from here.
That's it?
And Dallas and DFW, the airport, I can get anywhere in the world from there. It's 3 hours from here. I'm stuck between Dallas, Kansas City, Colorado Springs, Fort Smith, Arkansas is not that far away. We're right in the hub, right there in the middle. So very convenient to get.
How far is Colorado Springs?
That's like somewhere between 7 and 9 hours. And someone's got their Google Maps out right now. Oh yeah, it's drivable. And we've got family there, so we can go hop over there and then get up onto a ski lodge pretty easily. So nice to be that close.
That's where I want to retire. I love Colorado.
That place is becoming expensive too.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I saw an article not long ago that was talking about how I think the average home price now has reached, I believe it was like 600,000, which was a lot higher than it was even 2 years ago.
Yeah, they're trying to get into the cheapest house in the region. I think they've got 4 kids, so there's 6 of them. The cheapest place they can get into is like $450,000. Wow. And here we are in our house at $156,000. With
I'm so
2,000 square feet, 2 bedroom, 2 bath, 2 car garage in a neighborhood with an elementary school. There's a church behind us, so we have a gate that goes to the church parking lot out of our backyard. So when we host parties and stuff, we've got party parking in the back. Great part of town.
It sounds awesome. I'm happy for you guys. I'll admit jealousy isn't good, but I'm a little jealous at your mortgage payment.
Well, it's. I mean, there's options available, right? Like we can no kidding go out and get that $450,000 house, but what's the real benefit? I'm closer to some things in town that I may or may not ever go to. Like you're just guaranteeing that you have to have a certain level of income to survive, which I think that's where stress comes from, right? So when I retire, my only piece of debt is the house at $1,100 a month. I think we're putting like $3,100 a month on it because we have the extra cash.
Yeah.
But if you just look at like the difference in payment, at bare minimum, I'm saving $1,500 a month over my peers. which means
That is so awesome.
every 4 months I've got an extra $6,000 over what they have in their budget that I can do whatever the heck I want with. I go to
Well,
trip
exactly.
anywhere in the
There's a
world with
freedom,
$6,000. Yeah, yeah, you
right?
have
There's a
that freedom.
freedom to that. I mean, not
Oh
that
yeah.
money is the most important thing at the end of the day, but let's be real about that. Money makes the
Hmm.
world go round. It makes it so you can do the things that you want to do. And I don't know if you and your wife
Hmm.
are like me, but I don't need a lot of extravagant things, but like I do need some financial stability and security, or else I just
Right.
freak out. I start
Yeah.
worrying is what it
Yeah.
is. So
Absolutely. And a lot of people are that way. But we grew up in northern Minnesota largely. She grew up on a farm, and you have what you need. You do the work, and that's it. And there's no compromise in those areas, which is fantastic because I didn't know those things growing up. This is something I brought to the relationship. Like, hey, here's all my piles and piles of baggage. That's what I brought into the relationship.
she sounds
Um,
wonderful.
well, we're coming up here in June. We're celebrating our 20-year wedding anniversary in June this year. So exciting
Bravo to
stuff.
you guys. That's a
Yeah,
huge
thanks.
accomplishment if you consider the divorce rate these days, but also the divorce rate
Hmm.
in the military. So good for you guys.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I feel like I could just chat with you all day. I'm so happy that we're talking. All right. What is your biggest failure? I don't really like that word, but lesson. Okay. So what's your biggest failure, otherwise known as a lesson? And what did you learn from it?
Well, really, it was self-evaluation. I was about 7-ish years into the Navy service, and we had someone check into. I was teaching at a schoolhouse here for the military, and if someone checked in, I thought, like, man, this guy's kind of a jackass. Runs his mouth all over the place. And someone's like, "Oh yeah, you guys are like brothers. You're like the same person." I was like, "What? No, we're not." And it really forced me to evaluate what I was doing with my life. I got into a real comfort zone. The work I was doing for the military was top notch. So they're like no one bugged me. I could almost get away with just about whatever I wanted to do. But I didn't realize that I had turned into a jackass. I didn't know. Um, so I took some time to evaluate and really focus in on what people were trying to tell me is that they cared about me and they wanted me to know, like, hey man, you're like, that's how you behave. You don't like that guy, really? And you're like, what? I had no idea. And so,
Mhm.
through that time and period of reflection, I really replaced a lot of my friend group. I said, who do I want to be like? And what areas am I lacking? What do I want to? I was like, I want people that are going to school. I want people that are good husbands, they're good sailors, they're good fathers, they are, working hard on their career, good Christian men. Those are the things that I cared about. So I started aligning myself with those type of people. Well, as immediately when I did that, my whole life changed around. Yeah, I was doing good stuff with Dave Ramsey, but some people would, get a bad taste in their mouth when they met with me because I wasn't treating them very well, and I didn't realize that I was. And right after that, got a couple of awards, got a major billet, got the instructor of the year and got selected to go to the Seaman to Admiral program for the Navy to send me to college full time to get my commission, become an officer. And that wouldn't
Wow.
have happened with that period of reflection and reevaluation.
Hmm. Hmm. That's so important. I mean, as we age and as we get more comfortable in our positions and where we are in life, we can often forget humility, right?
Mm-hmm.
And forget to check ourselves,
Yeah,
basically. So that's an
absolutely.
incredible story.
I'm a
What
huge fan of feedback. Like, I need feedback. If I'm doing great, tell me I'm doing great. If I'm doing crappy, like, hey Travis, that podcast was garbage. Tell me. I have
you like
no
to know
way of
where to
knowing
stand?
unless someone tells me. You know what I mean? I can't. I
Um,
can't know.
It's so true because oftentimes, even if we feel like, oh, well, I'm so self-aware, we have blind spots, right? We all
Yeah,
have blind spots.
absolutely.
So you had mentioned you changed like your friends and
Hmm.
a lot of things in your life. What is that theory? You are the 7 people you hang out with the most. It's
This is
something like
a
that.
Jim Rohn theory. You're the average of your 5 closest friends, right? So
Okay.
if you're hanging out with 4 people and they're going to the gym, guess what? You're going to find yourself in the gym. If you're hanging out with 4 people that just go bar hopping on the weekends, you're going to find yourself bar hopping. If you're hanging around with 4 idiots, I'm going to show you the 5th. And if you're hanging out with 4 millionaires, I'm going to show you the 5th. Because just the things they do and talk about is going to get incorporated into your life and your world, whether you want it to or not. That guilty
Mhm.
by association thing is real. even if you say no to the terrible things they might ask you to do, or things are maybe not as black and white, and you live in the gray area where I lived for so many years, um, people are going to recognize you as one of them, whether you want to or not. So even if you have, oh, well, I gotta hang around them because, they're family. You don't. You do not should never allow toxic people in your world to affect you, your life, your family, your household, regardless of who they are. Sharing DNA does not give them the right to treat you like garbage.
So true. I just had a conversation with a girlfriend of mine about this last
Yeah.
night, and I'm like, just because she's your best friend does not give her permission to take advantage of you, right? And those are those are real hard lessons
Yeah.
that you learn over time. Absolutely. And
Well,
to
she's not a real best friend.
well, exactly.
That title is false. Yeah.
I don't
It's
want
a
to say
false
that, but
title.
it is true, because your real best friend doesn't do things to you like that. Now, this whole, the guilty by association theory, right? And so something you were saying, you got to make a decision who you want to be, right? Don't live in the gray. And something that I've been implementing, and tell me your thoughts on this, is here's my goal. And here's where I want to get to. And maybe, there's multiple goals, but when things pop up, and I have to make a decision, right? If it's saying no to somebody, or if it's a situation that causes drama, right? Is dealing with that going to get me closer to my goal? And if it's not, then it's time to say no, or it's time to cut it out. And it's taken me so long to get to that point.
I'm reaching here because I want to show you what's on the back of my camera. Is this aligned with my mission?
Oh,
This sits right behind my camera. This sits right behind my camera. I'll be doing something. I'll be on Facebook, cruising Facebook like I do, posting, interacting, and like, am I doing something business related? Is this aligned with my mission? Is this a dollar producing activity? Does this make me a better husband or father, a better Christian, a better student, better in business, better in the military? It doesn't. Well, then I'm just wasting time. I'm sitting at the computer calling it work time. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing the thing. I put that up there when I was trying to finish my master's because, man, there's a reason they call it procrastinate, like professional procrastinator, like procrastinator. I was a pro. I'm gonna share something that happened with my master's paper because it's hilarious, and it really helps you with your gut feelings and what you should be doing. Cruising along on this paper. It's getting closer to the date. This is this week. So it is what, Thursday? So I'm talking Tuesday this week, 2 days ago. It's like 10 o'clock. I go to save my paper. I'm like, this is a good stopping point. And I go to put my laptop down. I've been working on this thing all day. Not the days leading up to this, I wasn't working all day. But that day I was working all day. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to log in and check some of the requirements just to make sure I got, my ducks in a row, make sure I got all the stuff met. And I had to do a little quick update on the laptop. And I went back in. And I was like, well, I'll just load it. I had the stuff downloaded. I was like, I'll just load it from like the Canvas page, right? And Canvas loaded, and it said the 17th, which is when I thought my paper was due. That the thing was blank, and I was like, I thought my paper was due on the 17th. Like, shouldn't there be like a big thing? And I scrolled up, and it said it was due on the 16th. On the day we're talking about. It's now 10:30 p.m. I have 89 minutes to get this thing finalized. Turned out, I thought I had an whole extra day. I thought it was
I feel nauseous
the 17th.
for you right now.
Yeah, I thought it was the 17th. I was like, I'm going to wake up. I'm going to load this thing at work. I know I'm going to have time at work. It's just the way it's working right now. Like, we have extra time. And I was like, I'm going to finish this thing up, submit it tomorrow. No big deal. But that gut feeling is like, man, I really got to check. I really got to check this thing. I wasn't even looking at the due date. And it popped up, and I was like, oh, man, I have got to get this done immediately. It wasn't too far off, but, the pupils dilate, the adrenaline kicks in. My fingers, I got like 35 fingers typing away, smoke's rolling off the keyboard. And no kidding, I'm researching things, trying to make it like, oh, I didn't talk about that in my paper. Brrr, look, there's 300 words. There's 600 words. And I don't know what I was freaking out for. I got this thing turned in at 11:56. I had 4 whole minutes to spare. And NASCAR, I'm winning by a mile. Like in baseball, I'm sliding into home. The dust has already settled before I swing the bat. 4 minutes is forever, unless you're talking about a paper deadline. So I got that thing turned in. The adrenaline kicked me up to 2 a.m. because I was I was on. My body was like, we're doing this. I
Oh,
did
I
it.
bet.
No, we're still doing this. Like, I don't know what we're doing, but I'm still awake.
You went into like fight or flight, right? And it was like, I've gotta get this
Oh yeah.
done.
Yeah.
So
Flight of the
huge
Bumblebee
adrenaline
kicked in.
spike.
This went nuts. That
Wow.
was my
Oh my God. I,
Tuesday.
I would I
Yeah.
would have been freaking out. Well, good. Good job on getting it
Yeah.
done.
If I look all relaxed today, it's because I didn't do anything yesterday or today.
That
That
was
was
your
stressful.
reward.
Yeah. I mean, I still did stuff, but like there was no added stress. It's not like I was trying to like in between calls research things from it. Like, it's all done. It's turned in. They're gonna grade it, and I'm gonna pass, or I'm not gonna pass. There's nothing I can do about it now. So,
Well, I'm sure you passed. All right. What let's get to know you a little bit more here. So
okay.
what have you read or listened to recently that's inspired you?
Um, well, I don't know if I can pick one thing. I have things I recommend all the time. I live my life on net. Have you heard of net? No extra time. Familiar with
No,
that? No. So
that's how
this
I
is one of the
choose to
ways.
operate though.
Yeah, no extra. Like the things that you do that you have normally only done one thing during that time. So I'm talking about commuting, working out, running errands, going grocery shopping, doing chores around the house. I'm always listening to something. I always have an audiobook, a podcast, not music normally, but I'm downloading information and learning things that I'm not familiar with. People with long commutes, especially, like I got an hour and a half commute, dude. That's amazing. You got 3 hours every day. That's 15 hours a week in just commute time. You could crush 2 books a week. You wouldn't even know it. And if you hit podcasts and you put it on like 1.5 speed or whatever, like you're just smoking through podcasts and learning all the things you need to learn. Um, but maybe the two biggest books that really changed my world and how I looked at things other than the Bible were the 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. Talks about how to really monetize your life, how to get away from work itself. He's at like the DEAL, how to get away from work. And now that we're in COVID times, right? Everyone's working remotely, and that's one of the biggest challenges to get to working wherever you want to. Because if you got a laptop and you can do everything from your laptop, well, then you don't need to be in San Diego, in Nashville, in Oklahoma City. You can be on a beach in Aruba
So
with your
true.
toes in the sand, figuring out, how am I going to run this podcast? How am I supposed to do this stuff? How am I supposed to work for this New York law firm? Well, if you can get hired at a New York firm and enjoy Wichita prices. You can make that $400,000 a year and have a hundred
You
and
can
twenty
live
thousand
like a
dollar
king.
house. You can absolutely you can because you don't have to go into the office anymore.
Yeah.
Right, that's one of the best things about COVID is realizing that most of the stuff that we did or thought was reality, or that's the way it's got to be, that American dream of owning a house. Well, that's not necessarily the way you have to do it anymore, which means you've got flexibility. As soon as I retire from the Navy, this show is going on the road. If I'm getting paid to speak in Rio, I might just stay down there for 3 weeks because I'm not worried about having to go drive into the office Monday. Oh, you want me
Yeah.
to come out for a conference in Vienna? Absolutely, I'll be there. Yeah, I'm going to
Sure.
stay for a
Sure.
month and a half because why not? Right? That's the kind
I
of
love
things that you
that.
can do in design.
Have you had people, I talked about this yesterday, I think, on the podcast, but for years, and tell me if you've experienced the same thing, because you're doing multiple things all at once, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for years, I
Yeah.
really I had a lot of feedback like, Sarah, pick one thing and do it. And I'm like, and I would try and I'd feel bad about myself and I'd beat myself up and I'd be like, why can't I just focus? Well, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten over that because guess what? I can focus on multiple things at one time. And that's just who I am. That's how I operate. So what do you have to say
Yeah.
about that?
Oh, I can do like my day. Where my phone at? I bring up my calendar. Like I've got 8 calls today. It's not a military working day. My wife's at work. My kids are on spring break, but they're 12 and 18. So like I haven't seen my daughter in 5 days. I don't even know what she's doing. My son's just in his room playing video games, not caring about anything else than hanging out with his friends online. Um, and I decide what I want my day to look like, and I schedule those things. And when I have off time or off days, I'm scheduling my podcast stuff, and I keep my evenings open. I don't do anything on the evenings. I don't do anything on the weekends for the business, unless the inspiration strikes me. And people are like, "Well, how do you get so much done?" I'm like, because I am going from task to task to whatever the thing is, is this aligned with my mission? And the times that I have dedicated to doing the thing really are Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. If it's not one of those 3 days, I'm not doing work related stuff. I'm doing something that I think is interesting. I'm doing stuff for the Navy. I'm doing stuff with my family, whatever that looks like. I've decided what I'm going to do it in this time. If it doesn't get done that time, it doesn't get done. If I'm finding out that I don't have enough time in my day, I just change the hours which I'm available to schedule things, and I do other stuff. Like I don't start like this stuff. My day started at 10. I ain't doing stuff before 10. If I got the choice, I choose no, thank you. I get up like during the school week, right? I get up right at 7, make sure the kids get out the door, give them hugs because I think that's important. Go to the gym, hang out with my wife for an hour, start my day, and then at 10 o'clock get rolling into the workday.
The main point I'm hearing you say is that you control your time, right? You're in control of your time and what you want to do.
Yeah. If you find yourself, if you're listening to this and you find yourself not having any time, there's a word I want you to use. Chances are it was the first word you ever learned. You just haven't been using it. And the answer is no. Hey, can I do this? No, I can't. Oh, I'd love to help you, but I mean, show me in my day or my schedule here where I have time for that. I don't. I'm sorry. Well, this is so-and-so supposed to do that. Okay. Well, go enforce that on them. Make sure that they do it. Well, they're kind of whatever. And I was like, well, if it was my task, would you be lobbying for someone else in this office to do it because I don't have the time? No, I'd expect you to do it. It's like, well, I expect them to do it. So go put it on them. And some people are listening to this right now. They're like, man, that's kind of crass.
No,
it's not. I am choosing to be nice to Travis first.
That's powerful. I mean, I've heard what you're talking about, but to follow it up with that, because a lot of people that don't say no, they're so worried of, well, I've got to be the nice person, the pleasers, right? But what you're saying is, well, that's fine, be nice, but be nice to you first.
So many, I'm not saying this applies only to ladies, but so many ladies I know, you are taught that the most important thing beyond anything else is being nice. And that's true. Being nice is a wonderful skill, talent, ability, whatever you want to call it. But be nice to Sarah first. Be nice to Travis first. Saying no to toxic people, that's not you crushing their dreams. That's not crushing your best friend. That's you choosing to be nice to yourself first. Because if you onboard their stress, their drama, their toxicity, you know they're a social or an energy vampire. You invite them into your house, they're going to suck you dry. You know what's going to happen. Be nice to yourself and say, no, thanks, not today.
Great.
You know, this is not really working out for me. Sorry.
That is such great advice. So we are getting close. You're going to have to come on again because there's so many other things that I still want to ask you, but I want to make sure that we reserve some time for you to share more specifically about Nonprofit Architect, what sorts of opportunities you're looking for, and how I and the audience can help elevate Nonprofit Architect and help you grow your organization.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, we host the Nonprofit Architect podcast, where we interview nonprofit leaders, business leaders, consultants, and people with the special skills to help build stronger nonprofits. And you're like, special skills, what might that look like? Well, I interviewed Vincent James from Keep Music Alive, and he shared with us how he contacts celebrities to help them champion his cause. So he's had Julie Andrews, Jack Black, Vanessa Williams, I think the Carpenters or something, like tons of people on. And he teaches you on our show how to do that. I've got people that come in and teach you how to contact the media, how to use MailChimp, how to do 5-minute Facebook Lives. We bring in consultants that talk about how do I utilize and maximize the Google Ad Grant. We bring in business consultants that talk about all the different things you need to do to run your website as a business. Because most nonprofits, their website is a digital pamphlet. Like if you handed them a pamphlet and you say, hey, put this online, it would say, this is who we are, this is what we do, give us money and nothing else. So it teaches you how to build and curate content, which is one of the things I help promote. I wrote the ultimate podcast guide, and one of the things in there, as I'm big on promoting right now, is go to this website, nonprofitarchitect.org, get yourself a copy, but we teach you how to do an interview show like this and how to parse it out into different pieces of micro content, so you're not having to figure out what to post every week on social media. And because now you are creating something, people have a reason to come back to your website.
I need your help.
as a digital pamphlet, they'll go and they'll donate or not donate, but they have no reason to go back to your website. Think about all the websites you go back to, all the social media, news feeds, sports, or whatever, because they have new stuff every time you go back.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
if you're a business or a nonprofit, or you have your own thing that you're doing, you got to have a podcast, a blog, a vlog, some new content that's coming out. Blogs are pretty easy and straightforward. Podcasts, there's still a lot of blue water in podcasts. And it's such a great way. If you do an interview show like Sarah, she just asks like 5 or 10 questions. And there's guests that come up with all the answers. Right? So every question and answer, you can take a program called Headliner. It takes the audio out. You put it on a little, Sarah's taking notes. Yeah, write this down. Everybody write this down. It's a free program. They've got a paid version, of course, but they've got a free program. You go take a little audio clip, put it on a fancy background that you built on Canva, and now you have something to promote on all your social media, and you have something to post on your website. So you're giving people reason to show up to your site to actually do business with you. You increase your authority, right?
Yes.
Every person you bring on the show ends up elevating your status just a little bit every time. And when you get great guests on your show, you can ask them whatever you want to ask them, even if it's for selfish reasons. So I'm bringing on Steve Sims, who's the author of Blue Fishing, a great book to check out. He talks about the speakeasy concept and the way to create world-class events. I'm talking world-class events, not like your average gala, like amazing things that you put together. But I didn't have to buy Steve's program. I didn't have to get his $50,000 coaching. Because I have a show, he's agreed to come on and talk to nonprofits about this stuff. But then I get to ask him whatever questions I want to answer.
Right.
So if I wanted to know something about the industry that he's going to talk about, and I want answers for Travis and also other people listening in, I get to ask him whatever I want. So I get to grow and develop with every new guest I bring on. I average speaking to 5 or 6 nonprofits a day. You want to get someone that in the nonprofit world that has some knowledge about what's going on. I've been doing this for a year and a half. That's 18 months, right? That's 500-ish days times 5 a day. That's 2,500 people I've talked about nonprofit things. I'm getting their ins and outs, their cares, their worries, what they're doing well, what they're not doing well, and how to do everything better. That's the kind of knowledge that someone like myself brings to the table. There's other podcast hosts, there's other consultants, there's other people out there. But, we're looking for nonprofits that want to do it better, because nonprofits spend every month just chasing donations, right? They've got a call sheet, they've got a donor list, they have all this stuff. Our signature program helps set up monthly recurring donations and partnerships where you get paid each and every month. So you can say no to more work and yes to more money. Because then you can actually focus on delivering the programs that are making the impact that you actually care about in the first place. Because no one starts a nonprofit, man, like, man, I really love fundraising. Like, that's not why you do it. You do it because you want to make an impact in your community. And with our program, it gives you the time, the energy and effort to donate and pour into their world and make that impact instead of just chasing donors around.
And the thing is, even if you chase the donor around, what's the potential of them being a repeat donor, or are you going to start all over? So, having those systems in place. And I've said for a long time, first, let me say this. So my background is marketing, business development, and sales.
Yeah.
Fundraising is a whole different beast. It is a whole, I figured it would be easier, right? Because you're speaking to people's hearts. No, a lot of people say, I like your mission. How can I help? But then when it comes down to it, it's just something I've learned. But here's the other thing. And I've heard this from other people. A lot of people think nonprofits aren't businesses. A nonprofit is a business. The only difference is the tax.
You have to incorporate. You have to incorporate as a business first before you assemble a board, create bylaws, and apply for 501c3 tax status. The NFL was a nonprofit up until 2015. Billions of dollars flowing through the NFL, and they're finally like, "All right, guys, this is insane. No more nonprofit status for you." But
so if more nonprofits operated like a business, right, and they managed the funds and they operated with a more for-profit mindset, imagine how much more good could be done.
Yeah, well, right now, there's a huge portion of the population that thinks nonprofit means no profit, which is wrong. There's a huge portion of the population that feels like, making money for myself is good, like business, but in order to pay penance, there's an old Catholic term, paying penance. I have to go and hurt myself in the nonprofit world. Should not be painful. You should collect a good paycheck, and you should be making a great impact out there. If you're not doing those things, call me. let's get the stress hat off of you. Let's start turning a profit, putting money into your family's account so you can make what you're trying to do sustainable. I know a lot of
Yeah.
people in the veteran space, right? They feel like they got to go out there and Superman it themselves, that they have to be the one to save everybody. Well, you didn't do that, right? You weren't in the military alone. You didn't play sports alone, unless you were on a bowling, a single bowler or a golfer, right? You didn't do anything alone, right? You had to rely on your teammates. They had the skills that you didn't have. You had skills that they didn't have, and together is what helps you move forward. A lot of people in the military, they get in there and they're like, I'm doing this thing, I'm helping veterans, but I'm not going to make anyone pay for that stuff, because that's not what that means. Untrue, right? People can pay for stuff in nonprofits. Well, I can't take a paycheck because it's wrong. It's not wrong. It is not anywhere close to wrong. And if you want this thing to be sustainable, and what I mean, like, it's still going strong in 5 years, you're going to have to pay a staff. Everyone I know is getting paid, or they're working on ways to get paid. And the only other option is they're closing down because they can't do it anymore. Because it's too
like
much.
A business.
Well, it's way worse than a business, because you have all the business startup problems. You have all the extra rules from the IRS, and you don't own this thing. The board is responsible to the public for the execution of the mission. And if they say, hey, founder, we voted you off the island, you have no legal recourse. You're gone. You're out.
I've seen that happen.
It's not your baby. It's your idea. It's not yours. You don't own it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was. I felt like it was a hostile takeover type of situation, because the person that got booted off, I know that he did a lot to actually get it up and going. And then I think it came down to like an ego thing, a difference of opinion. And anyway, story for another day. But that really imprinted on me. How it can be in the nonprofit sector sometimes. So really important, to take into consideration who you are recruiting to be on your board of directors, and if you can really work together and trust each other. So very, very important. Well, Travis, I really appreciate you being on today, and I would definitely like for you to come back on, because I feel like you have tons more to share. If there are nonprofits out there that are interested in coming on your podcast, how can they get in touch with you?
Go to the website, nonprofitarchitect.org, fill out the contact me form. I'll send you an email. I'm most active on Facebook. If you go on any social media and you put in Nonprofit Architect, I'm going to pop up. And if you go on Google, we still use Google, and put in Nonprofit Architect Podcast, I'm like the first 33 results on Google. So you're going to find the show, no problem.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you for being here today. My name's Sarah Barker, Military Veterans in Business. The entire purpose of doing these interviews is to elevate fellow veterans who are either for-profit business owners, nonprofit, or maybe they work for another company. And I just want to get the word out about what they're doing so we can all collectively band together and help each other. Thank you for joining us today, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Bye.